So here I am with Riccardo Pinali from Opero. Thank you and good afternoon. How are you? Good. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you here to explain us what the challenges of Paperbox were, but maybe you want to introduce yourself and your company. Well, first of all, thank you very much to Fedrigoni for giving me the opportunity to be here today. I would like to thank those who are listening to me, and I would like to tell you a few things about who I am and what we do. My name is Riccardo Pinali, and I am the owner, together with Riccardo Zambelli, of Opero. Opero is a company working in printed communication, and its offices are in Verona. Opero is a company that works on international markets for 30% of its turnover. France, the United Kingdom, United States are its reference markets abroad. The products that we make range from books, illustrated books for publishers, foundations. We also work on catalogs for high fashion, for fragrance producers or watchmakers. We work on packaging, press kit. So these are very particular jobs to launch projects. And you could see yourself that the market of printing has changed, hasn't it? Yes, sure. The press market has, the printing market in recent years has been evolving very quickly. Printed communication, and I'm not the only one to say it, has become a complement of communication in general terms. Customers require more and more particular products. Books are published in smaller and smaller numbers, but they become objects. Boxes become items of design. So basically, a greater and greater attention is given to combining materials and processes to obtain things that truly stand out and which can be preserved and kept for a longer time. What is your peculiarity? What is your strategy? Well, let's say that as Opero, we focus on human resources. People, individuals, are fundamental for us. There are 4 aspects that are unique to us. We have people with great skills and competence. We share the experiences we have. We put a lot of passion in everything that we do, and we put a lot of emotion and feelings in what we do. Just like a craftsman when they are in their shops and they make something. It's a passion that allows us to turn small things into great things. And talking about emotions, I cannot but express the huge emotion we felt when we saw the Paperbox. I mean, Paperbox was a huge challenge for us, and it was a project that really involved us for many, many months. True, because, you know, behind an iconic and clean object like Paperbox, there are many, many technical challenges, and Opero, together with GTF, has been involved right from the beginning during the co-design and engineering stage in order to turn Paperbox into an industrial product. We were also very demanding. We didn't just want a beautiful and iconic object that would contain all of our products, but we were also looking for a tool, for an object that could be used on a daily basis to work. So we needed, for instance, an 180-degree opening, but our papers go from 70 to 700 grams with different finishing. So how could we tackle this peculiarity? How did we do it? Well, the challenge was quite daunting, I have to say. And I have to say we were involved right from the start, even during the concert stage, together with the GTF studio and with Fedrigoni. Together, we took all the steps to then come to the end solution, the solution that you see in my hands now. We are talking about many different papers with different grams, and we needed something that could be easily usable, easy to handle, and that could be preserved over time. So after a lot of studying and after many tests and attempts to try and obtain the best, we could achieve a result using, in this case, for instance, a special glue, which means that we can open it at 180 degrees, and it holds everything perfectly together. Well, we can show it here. See, we can open everything, as I said, 180 degrees, and this is the key feature, the key characteristic of this volume of this project. And there's another peculiarity, namely the binding and the very flexible spine, which was difficult to obtain, but in the end you found the perfect compromise, the perfect solution. Well, having this kind of opening is quite difficult without compromising the quality of the spine. If you look at it, you see, if you open the volume, look at what happens. We still keep and preserve the quality of the spine. So in order to achieve this result, once again, we had to develop several prototypes, and we then came to this solution. There's basically a double cover. This ensures that we can open the book, but it also gives more robustness to the entire project. We did many tests, but in order to support such a volume with a very thick spine, we needed a rigid cover. And again, we did all our tests, and after a few times, the cover would detach itself from the book, so it wasn't easy. But now we have managed to achieve this great result without compromising on the aesthetics of the book, which was so important to us. Another peculiarity has to do with the perfect alignment of the Fedrigoni writing on the spine. Exactly. That's another goal. We wanted to have spines that could be customized with the Fedrigoni writing, although printed on 3 different volumes. The paper box is a collection of 3 volumes, as you can see it here. So you can read Fedrigoni as if it was just 1 volume. It's a perfect continuum. We had to work in order to obtain not only this double opening, but also we had to make sure that the writing, once the 3 volumes are put inside the box, we wanted to make sure that the writing was perfectly aligned and perfectly readable, just as if it was 1 volume, 1 book. Of course, we had to take into account all the binding steps. I mean, I've mentioned the cover, but I would have many other things to say. We used the screen printing, so even with the limits of binding and screen printing, we've still managed, with the help of the GTF Studio and Fedrigoni, we've managed to find the right spacing between the letters in order to achieve an aesthetically pleasant, beautiful result. Summing all the tolerances of the various processes, we still ended up with a perfect alignment of the 3 volumes. So 3 volumes which really contain different quantities of paper, but they are all contained in the same box. That's also a challenge. GTF started to work on it. They really made an accurate calculation of the thicknesses of all the papers. They used an Excel sheet, then you took all these calculations and you produced the first prototype. Yes, I remember the very first day we had all the papers in our hands. Just imagine, we're talking about more than 800 different papers, still different papers, and we had to combine them all in order to obtain the same thickness in all 3 volumes. And we had to go through several prototypes. We're happy with the result because we now have 3 volumes whose thickness is exactly the same, is exactly identical. So they all get into and come out of the box in the same way. The box itself was very complex to produce. The box is 100% Fedrigoni paper, by the way. Yes, talking about the box. The box is made with 2 papers, cereal, 700 grams, and combined. They are covered with limit-lin, black one, fiandre in this case. The box has a 45% angle to obtain a perfect angling of the box, perfect perpendicularity, and this gives an added value aesthetically, but also this makes the box very solid, very strong. One of the goals was also to have something that is solid and that can last over time. To keep the 2.2 kilos of the paper box, we needed a robust box, exactly. And on the limit-lin, first we screen printed and we customized it. And then on the same box, we also had to do something else. We needed some holes. We wanted to create holes to push the volume out, basically by putting your finger in the hole. So the hole had to be right at the center of each individual volume. So we've created this hole using a laser technique with a very well calibrated power so as not to spoil the black limit-lin color. So we use this laser technique because a mechanical procedure would have created some blurred lines. That's exactly what we looked at. We looked at a mechanical procedure and at laser. Laser is cleaner, it doesn't burn anything. Do you remember, Alice? We did all the tests and we went for laser in the end. Yes, we had many, many aspects to take into account. If I may add something, and then we'll see whether there are any questions, but the most important thing that you might not see from here is complexity. Yes, complexity. We are trying to explain complexity, and there's another side to complexity. As I said before, this paper box contains all the Fedrigoni papers. In paper box, we have 706 samples, more than 1,700 pages, which means 1,700,000 samples moved, handled, printed, etc. Yes. The logistics activity, the organization of the handling and printing of these books is something that is almost unfathomable. It's so complex, believe me. Behind this work, there is a lot of moving around, a lot of organization. Also, when it comes to printing, exactly, and also because we have colored papers, dark papers printed with silver, embossed, coated papers. So each individual paper had to be managed differently. Yes, and the drying process meant, I mean, we used UV inks, traditional offset inks. That was one variable. And then we had different colors of paper. So we used some black ink, some silver ink. So think about it and multiply it by the hundreds and hundreds of papers that we had to print. So we had to truly manage a huge amount of work, and we had to split it over 2 printers, and it's been quite a mission. Today we cannot talk about all the challenges that we had to face, but I'd like to mention one last one because it's very, very current. I mean, 2020 was a difficult year because of the lockdown. I mean, the final part of the project, the last checks, and was something that we did last spring, but we continued to work, didn't we? In fact, we worked really hard regardless of the lockdown. I mean, one day I was home and I received 7.5 cyanographic prints. I had to put them out in my garden to disinfect everything, to sanitize everything in the sun. I had, meetings with my colleagues, things to read. I mean, it was very, very challenging. We had to change our habits and the way we normally develop our products, right? Well, I'm laughing now, but it was difficult. And I've tried to convey all the effort that we put into this project. And I mean, we couldn't even meet each other. It was difficult to meet and see each other. So we had Skype meetings, Zoom meetings. We had to make decisions, move materials. We had to go to everybody's house because the check on the product had to be done in the best possible way. Exactly. We never stopped, and that's why we are here to continue our communication and to share our products. Thank you. So, there are some questions I've heard. Yes. Does the paper box contain the entire collection of the Fedrigoni papers? Yes. We don't have the digital printing papers because they are contained in a separate ad hoc volume, in particular the digital printing HP Indigo papers. They will soon be available. They're in a separate volume, but other than that, the paper box contains the 80 ranges that you can see in the different available shades, and also you can find the different weights of each paper, because for each product you find the different grams that are available. So you can touch with your hands the different thicknesses and the different grams. What's the name of the glue is another question. It's a pour glue. That's for the spine, right? Pour Proflex. It's a pour Proflex, which doesn't make the block too stiff. So it is a flex. That's what we call it. Well, I could go into great detail, but we had to process the glue, and we've basically combined the two covers using also some glaze, but that's very, very technical. I don't know whether we want to go into all these details. Well, you might think that pour glue is very stiff, is very rigid. Well, in this case, we've reached the perfect compromise between robustness and flexibility. All samples, as I said, are perfectly glued, and they last over time, even with a daily use. That's what we hope. We hope that this becomes a tool for your daily work, but all the samples will stay where they are and they will stick to the glue.